Hello again. Welcome to the second workshop of a spatial data visualization that I'm running these days. In this workshop, we will gonna talk about how we can create animated maps in CARTO Builder. It's a little bit of an advanced workshop. We had a previous workshop at the beginner level, so I hope you had a chance to watch that. And in this workshop, we will work with two data sets, one both related to COVID-19 spread. One is data from Iran, one of the hardest hit countries in the Middle East with COVID-19, and we'll look closer to home, and we work with some data from New South Wales. The spread of COVID-19 in New South Wales. I hope you all have your CARTO Builder account, so go ahead and sign in and probably open the PDF files, open the notes that I've sent you, and we can get started with that. If you have any question, feel free to jump in either in the chat box or either unmute yourself and shout out your question. So let's start with the first hands-on experience with making animated maps. So I put together a CSV file where I included some data from Iran by province. So if you click on the link, so it says here is the CSV file showing the cumulative number of confirmed cases by province since 19th of February 2020. This was the beginning of the outbreak in Iran for 12 days. So we're working with 12 days of data from Iran. So if I click on this Google Drive link, it will direct you to a CSV file, which includes, with the first column includes the province. So you don't have to be familiar with Iran's geography and name of the provinces. So just take it as it is. They're the name of provinces. We have 31 provinces, and the following columns includes the cumulative number of detected cases over time from February 19 to 1st of March. And you can see at the beginning of the outbreak in Iran, it started from province of Qom on February 19, and then there were more people detected on February 20 in the same province. The first case was identified in Markazi province. And then if you look at February 21st, you can see the number of detected cases in Qom is keep increasing. There's no new case in Markazi province, so it's still one. And some new cases are identified in Tehran, which is the capital, and so on and so forth. So this is what the data looks like, the original data from what you can get maybe from the World Health Organization or other data sets that you want to work with. Let me go back to this. Yeah. So that's the data, but to be able to build a map, as we talked in the previous workshop, I believe, we need the boundary of the provinces as well, right? Because we don't know very far. You probably don't know where Fars is, where Tehran is, where Qom is. So you need the boundaries to be able to visualize this. So the second link that I've put for you here in the PDF file is the map of provinces in Iran, the 31 provinces in the KMZ format. So remember from the previous workshop, a number of file formats are supported by CARTO, a traditional shape file that is a typical GIS file, GeoJSON, KMZ is a Google Earth type format, KML, same thing, Google Maps type formats. So here I have a KMZ file for you. So go ahead and download these two data sets. So download the CSV file and download the KMZ file, and import both of them into your CARTO Builder dashboard. So if I go to my dashboard, so this is CARTO, I go to my dashboard. Let me download these two data sets first. So I download this one. It should probably go to my downloads folder. I also download this KMZ file. And it goes to my download. So I'm going to go to my, I have to import these into my data set. So I go to my data sets. I already have a couple of them. I already have them in my data sets, but I'm going to import them again. So I can click on new data sets and I go to upload and I can drag and drop them here. So let me first drag and drop Iran COVID-19. I'm going to change the name because I already have them in my data set. So I'm going to change the name slightly. You don't have to do that, but I'll do that. So I first import the CSV file, the Excel file. It's actually an Excel file. It's not a CSV file. I upload this. Let's give it some time so it gets uploaded. And then after this gets uploaded, so there you go, it's uploaded. Now it shows me the data as we saw it before. It added, you see, CARTO automatically adds a few columns to it. The CARTO DB ID, it adds a unique ID to it. It adds a geometry column to it, but because there's no geometry in this data, it's just the name of the provinces. There's no information about the boundaries of these provinces. So it's null here. There's no information on the geometry yet. But the other columns remain as we saw before. So it has the date, February 19, February 20, and the cumulative number of counts of the infected cases by each province. And it goes all the way to 1st of March as we had in the data. So I'm going to go back to my dashboard and import the other data as well. So new data set, upload, and I'm going to add the KMZ file to my data. And I upload the data set. You have to give it a little bit of time to upload. There you go. Yeah, so let's have a look at this one. So it has the geometry, it has the polygon. Yeah, great. It has the geometry of the provinces. It has the name of the province. There are a lot of other information in this data that we don't really need, and we don't really have to worry about it. We're interested in this geometry, basically the boundaries of the provinces. But let's have a look at this. Let's click on this create map here. Let's click on this create map so we can have a look at the province map, the map of the provinces in Iran. There you go. So these are the borders or the boundaries of the provinces that I was talking about. So you can clearly see the boundaries. But what we need to do to be able to visualize the data here, we kind of need to join the two data sets that we had, because this map has the geometry, but it doesn't have the COVID-19 information, and the other data set had the COVID-19 information, but didn't have the geometry of the provinces. So what we need to do here is we need to join these two data sets. And when I say join, if for those of you who are familiar with SQL, join is a very typical and commonly used command in SQL. But what is SQL for those of you who may not know what is SQL? SQL is a structured query language, is a kind of a programming language that you use for mining and analyzing large data sets. And it has its own syntax. It's not very complicated to learn. It's very simple. I'm going to touch on a little bit about the syntax in SQL because we need this in advanced workshop. But I also have a YouTube link for you. So if you look at the PDF file that I sent you at the end of this page, I say, if you don't feel comfortable with SQL queries, I encourage you to watch this YouTube video. There's a link here. It's a very simple description. You can watch it after the session. You don't have to watch it now. It's a simple description of how SQL works. But anyways, let's see how we can actually join these two data sets. So so what I would suggest is maybe we can, let me see, we want to join this province map data and the COVID-19 data. So I can either go in, let me see which one is better. So probably we can stay in this map data and then bring all the COVID-19 information into this map. Okay, so let me go to the data here. You see, so remember, when you import this geometry map from last workshop, you could change this from map to data, right? You could click on map, or you could either see the map or you could go and see the data. So this is the data that we were talking about, right? So if I want to write a query here, I probably need to, let me see, there is the, I actually have to change the name of this as well. Let me go back to my dashboard first, and then we can have a look at some of this data. Let me see if I can rename this file for myself. Edit the name, yes. So I call this Iran provinces. Okay, save. Okay, good. So I have the Iran provinces here. I'm going to open the data again. Yes, there you go. That's the data. Not in the map. Okay, we need to work on the data itself, not the map. If you have any problem or questions, please feel free to jump in. Okay, so that's the data we are talking about. And again, if you remember from the last workshop, we could change from metadata to SQL. If you look at this bottom left corner, we could switch between looking at the data and switch to the SQL panel. In the last workshop, we did not talk much about how to work with this SQL panel, but that's what we're going to do today. So as I said, we're going to join these two data sets. I've already put together a few lines of code here from SQL. I'm going to talk about these, okay? But let's first take these, copy these, and paste it into this SQL panel. But I'm going to talk about. So select, as it's probably self-sufficient. It's self-descriptive, self-sufficiently self-descriptive. Select in SQL refers to a command that you want to select. We want to select a few columns from one data set or more than one data set. So for example, if I have two data sets and I want to select a few columns from them instead of selecting all of the columns, I can use this select command here. So look, I have said select these columns from the Iran provinces dataset. Again, make sure this name of the table here matches your the data that you have imported into your CARTO dashboard. So my table name is Iran _ provinces _1. Yours might be different, so make sure you edit this accordingly. So I'm going to take these 4 columns from this data. So I'm going to take the CartoDB ID. I'm going to take the geometry column, and again, look at this geometer, the geometer web Mercator. This one is, you don't see that column here, but that's a trick with CARTO. This is the column that is hidden, but includes all the border information, the boundaries of the provinces. So you must include this. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to create your map. Okay, so the geometry underline, the geom underline web Mercator, that's something, again, you don't see, but please keep that in mind that you need to include this in your code, either in this map or all the other maps you may build in future. So I'm going to take these 4 information, so 4 columns of information from the map, because that's basically what I only need, right? Because I need the boundaries from this data, and I need the COVID-19 information from the other data set. And the other data set, I have So you see the name of the table now changes. So I only take these 4 columns from this data, and I take all the other column from the other data sets. So remember the name of the data, the name of the columns in the previous data set. Let me actually open the, let me go to my data. And so I named it Iran underline COVID-19 underline new. So I'm going to see. So look, these are the name of the columns, right? So underline 2020, underline 02, 019, and all the rest of it. So we're going to take all these columns, which includes the number of COVID-19 cases from Iran, right? So I'm going to come back here and update the name of my table accordingly, okay? Because the name of the table is now changed in my case. I'm not sure what name of the table you have selected for yours, so go ahead and if it's different from what is in the default code, go ahead and update the name of the table. So this is, as I said, again, I'm saying it again, this is, we are taking the columns from the other data set, the data that had the COVID-19 cases from Iran. So I'm updating the name of the tables, there you go. So and again, so these are the columns that we take. We separate them by a comma, and the last one, of course, doesn't have a comma. And then we say from which table. So after we've selected all these columns from these 2 different data sets, in the from line, we say, we specify which data we are referring to. So we take these columns from these 2 data sets, Iran provinces, underline 1, that's the name of my table, and this table. So from basically specifies from what data set you're taking this information. And then this last sentence, that's where the join is happening. So we say, take these columns from these 2 data sets, but there is a condition here. Only take them when basically trying to join these 2 data sets by the name of the province. So we say, take these columns, join them. How to join them? By matching the name of the provinces. So for example, if in my first data sets I have Alborz and I have the geometry of it, now I'm going to take all the columns, all the row, all the cells from the other data sets associated with the same name of province. So that's what it means here. So again, make sure you update the name of the tables here. I had Iran provinces underline 1 dot name. So that's the name of the, you see the name of the provinces here. And then equal to the same column, and if I go back to the COVID-19 table, you see the column that included the name of the provinces is province. So I'm going to take this column and match it with the other column in the data, which is the name, and to make sure the join is happening with the right reference. So so I have these 2 data sets, and the condition for the join is, as I said, join based on the name of the province. So if I do this, hopefully I don't get any error. So I say apply. There you go. It took a few seconds to join, and now let's have a look at the data. Let me turn off this SQL. I'll go to the meta. I can bring back up the SQL again. But now let's have a look at this new data, this new joined data. So I have the geometries, great. I have the name of the province, great. And I also added the columns referring to the date and the number of COVID-19 cases, you see? So these 2 tables are now joined, and the reference for the join command was the name of the province, as we just did it in SQL. So I'm not going to dwell much again more on this. So again, if you're not comfortable with, if you didn't really fully grasp this SQL code, or you don't feel comfortable with what I just explained, I try to explain it clearly. Go ahead and after the session, watch this short YouTube video on SQL programming, and I'm sure it becomes much more clear after that. So anyways, we joined these 2 data sets using this SQL query, and now we can press on create map. And let's see what map we can create here. So the map is created, but to be able to visualize it, let's go into the layer that is added here. And again, if you remember from the last workshop, if you want to visualize this, in the style tab, we go to the polygon style, and then we choose polygon color by value, right? And then, for example, I can choose 19th of February. Let's see what happens here. There you go. So on 19th of February, we can see this is actually the province of Com in the data that it had the first case. I can select another column here. I can select another column here, maybe 20th of February. We can see another provinces now have a new case, right? Again, I can go back and select maybe 22nd of February, and more provinces are now experiencing the spread. I go back, and again, if I choose 23rd, another province is added. If I go to 24th, now more provinces are getting added. And again, if I go to the last column in the data, which was March 1st, I select that. You can see pretty much most of the, not all the provinces in Iran, but most of the provinces in Iran are now affected only after 12 days. But this is not animated, right? This is,
excuse me, Mead, this isn't working.
As we said, the whole purpose of today is to learn how to animate this. Maybe a limitation with CARTO, we cannot animate a map like this where we have polygons. CARTO only allows us to animate points. So if we have some points instead of polygons, we should be able to animate it. But we need to somehow convert these polygons into points. But how to do that? So now let's go to the PDF. I hope I wasn't talking too much about it. So I talk about all these things in the next page here. And but as I said, we need to convert this into points. Okay. So again, I talk about some of the stuff here that I probably skipped here, but you can follow them offline after the workshop. But that's not really critical here. I'll try to keep the flow here. But anyways, so I have this data and I need to revisualize it, and now I need to convert this into points. So from polygons to points. So if I go to the analysis tab,
could you please stop and ask some questions?
Okay. I add a new analysis. If you remember from the last workshop, we had a lot of options here, but one of them is actually finding the centroid. Let's see. Yes, there you go. This one. It says create centroids of geometries. So it creates a direct or weighted centroid grouped by all rows or by categories from current layer. So I'm going to use this create centroids of geometries to convert the polygons of the provinces into points. So then instead of having a polygon representing the province, I have a point representing the province. Then I'll be able to animate that. So I select create centroids. I add the analysis. Do I have to? So let's have a look at this. You select the centroid of the geometries. We need to categorize it by the name of the province, right? So let's select the name of the province because we want every province has a point by itself. We don't need to weight any, we don't need to do any weighting here. So don't worry about the weighted by. So we just categorize by the name of the province. And then we click on apply. Let's see what happens. It says it has finished. Do you want to style this analysis? Yes, let's style this. So look, we managed to convert the polygons into points now. And if I go to by value here, I don't see the COVID-19 information anymore. So we managed to create points here, but we've kind of lost the COVID-19 information here. But that's okay. We can add it again, right? So as I said here, we've lost the COVID case counts when we do this centroid creation, but we can export this and import it again as a new data, and then join it again with the COVID-19 information we had before. So what I would suggest to do is we go to so we have this map created, right, with the points. If I go to the data, And so this is the data I'm seeing. I see the geometry. So this is basically the centroid of each province now, the coordinate of the centroid of each province, and the name of the province. Now I can save this as, I can export this data, right? I can export this data. So I do it again. If I go here, if you go here, if you click on this, more options here by the name of the table you had, you can export the data. I export the data. I export it as maybe a KML file. You can export it as anything you like, but maybe it's easier to go with KML because it only imports one file. So I download this exported data, and we import it again as a new data set. Okay, so let's go back to the dashboard.
Hey, me, can you hear this at all?
Now, you can either go with the data or you can go with maps. Doesn't really matter. I'll add it as a new data set. Let me change the name of the. Let me change the name of the.
Got some requests to slow down. I'm not sure
so
he can hear us, everybody.
From the previous one. Now I'm going to add a new data set. I'm going to upload
somehow
this
he's not hearing us.
that I exported. So I import it again, and I click on upload. So the KML file that I just
able to get his attention somehow.
Now importing back into the CARTO.
Is it possible for you to slow down a little bit,
please? It's imported now. So you see, instead of having the geometry information of the polygons, I now have the centroid coordinate of the centroid coordinate of it. And for some reason, why did I lose the name of the provinces here? We need that somehow. So this isn't good. We kind of lost the name of the province, you see here. So let me go back and see what was wrong with it. So I have the name of the province here. So if I go back to this one, let me go to this and see what, let me delete this and import this again. It might be a problem with adding the data, but I hope not. Oh, you have a few questions. Oh, sorry, I'm going very fast, right? Sorry. Oops, sorry guys, I didn't see a lot of questions here. Okay. So, Mia, does the blue color of the name signify something? A string, maybe? Let me go back to the data. Sorry, guys, I was really caught into just talking about this, so I apologize if I missed this. So let me go back to the initial data as I imported. Okay, so let me go back to the data. So this one was the COVID-19 data. So that's not what we wanted to look at. Let's have a look at the Iran provinces. Okay, so does the blue color of the name signify something? A string, maybe? What do you mean, Julie? Do you want to jump in and unmute yourself to talk? If I
am unmuted, Maid.
Hello?
Thank you. Maid, please don't go back there again. It was just a question about the SQL.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. So
it doesn't matter. No,
yeah,
it was just extremely hard to follow all of that.
Yes, I'm going to go over them again.
Re-import. No, don't worry. I will just watch the recording. Okay. There's not enough time now.
Okay. But again, sorry guys. For some reason, I wasn't hearing you. My computer was my speaker was off, so I wasn't. If you jumped in and talked, I couldn't hear you. Thanks for somebody who muted me and unmuted me. so I quit back to the chat box. But anyways, I'm sorry if I was going too fast. But anyways, I'll try to, because I had an error here myself. So I'm going to do this again to be able to see what happened, and hopefully you can all follow again if I was going too fast. Let me see some of the other questions that raised here. Yes, I'm going to slow down. The change of the data sets. Yes, make sure the columns are, yeah. Okay, I'm going to do this again so people can see. Okay, so let's go back to this one. So we saw the map. I'm not going to create a map again here. So you see the polygon, we see the name of the provinces here. So we're going to do the joint, right? So let's do the joint again. This is actually joined already. So I have the name of the polygons, and I have the name of the province here, right? And I already joined them. So I had select the name of the table, and this bluish or greenish name is the name of the columns, is the column name from that table. And I think one problem here is if I actually, no, I'll probably keep that because it may give me an error. And the rest is the numbers that you're taking from the other data sets. And we're going to join these two data sets by a where condition, where we're going to match the name of the provinces to be able to join these two data sets. So this is already applied, I guess. So if I copy this, if I clear this, look guys, if I press on clear, I see the original data. So if you make a mistake somewhere, if you mess up the code, don't worry about it. Just press clear, and then it goes back to the original data. So I'm going to paste the SQL code again here, and I press apply, and I see the joint data sets. I think one problem I had was, let me go back to the PDF file. I think somewhere I mentioned that we need to import and export that. I think I missed this step. That's why I had a problem later. So anyways, let's export this. I can export this. Let's apply this, and then we'll see how it goes. So create a map. Excellent. So I go here. For some reason, it allows me to do this polygon color. Previously, it wasn't allowed me, but that's okay. So one thing we did was not after. So far, is there any questions so far on this? So everyone could follow up to here. So we managed.
Yes, thanks.
Excellent. So we managed to join these two data sets. We see the data sets. We see the joint data. What we did before was we wanted to convert the polygons to points, right? So again, if I go to the data, making sure I have the name of the provinces as a string. So I go back to the map. I go to the analysis. I add a new analysis here, and I convert the polygons to centroids. So I select this create centroids of geometries, and then I select this centroids, and then I add the analysis. I'm going to categorize by the name of the province, and then I press apply. Done. So I now have all the provinces, the polygons converted to points, as I talked before. If I go to the style, if I go to a style to visualize this, we can see that there's no column about the CARTO. Sorry, there's no column about the COVID-19 cases. So when we convert the polygons to points, we somehow lost the COVID-19 information in the data. But that's why I said we need to join them again here in this case. So I go back to I switch from map to data. So I can see the name of the provinces. This is good. I see the geometry. So I need to export this information. So if I come back to the PDF file, and I need to export this. So
how did you just go back from map to data? I don't see that on my screen.
Yes, on the bottom right corner, there is a, you see there is a map, there is a control bottom that you can switch between map and data. Can you see this? If you don't see it, again, in your data, if I go back to the first layer, so click on this layer that you created, the points, and if you go to any, if you see this same screen where you have data analysis, style, etc., you should be able to select data from this control. Yes, excellent. And again, please feel free to jump and interrupt me anytime, everybody. I mean, don't feel shy. So yes, so let's export this again. I think I had a problem before exporting this, so I'm going to export this as KML, and I'm going to download this. So how did I export this? I click on this more options. I press I select this export data, and I export it as a KML file. So I'm going to go ahead and again change the name of, let me delete the previous one, and let me change the name of this file. So if I want to open it again, I don't have any problem. So anyways, so we now have a data, we now have a point data. So let's go back to the dashboard. I'm going to the dashboard, and I'm gonna maybe it's a data. Ah, that's a problem. I think I added it as a data. So I need to upload it as a map because it's a KML file. Yes, I think that was the problem. So if I go back to my dashboard, I'm gonna upload this as a new map. So as a new map, I upload the KML file that I just exported from CARTO, which includes my points converted from polygons, right? So I upload this data set. Let's see, let's give it some time to upload. Okay, excellent. So this is created. Now let's click on the layer that we just created. And actually, let's see if the name of this, so I'm going to switch again from map to data to make sure the name of the province is carrying over. For some reason, I'm losing this name of province here. I'm not sure why am I losing. Oh, no, it's actually here. There you go. Ah, I thought I lost it, but it's not under the name anymore because I categorized it. Remember when I did the centroid creation of the centroid from polygons, I said categorized by the name of the province. So apparently this name is gone, but a new column called categories added to the data that has the name of the provinces. God, glad I remembered this. So the name of the provinces is now in this category column. The name, again, because we categorized it by the name of the province. That's why it's called category. But anyways, so if I go back to the map, so but we don't have the COVID-19 information here, right? So let's keep going in the PDF. So so to create an animated map over time, we need the COVID-19 case count data in a different format, actually. So again, if I show you the original CSV file that I showed you, so let's have a look at the original CSV file that we went together. So this original data that we had wasn't this a specific format for whatever reason, because I downloaded it from a source. So it had the name of the province, it had the name, it had the dates. But to be able to visualize something, a dot map, an animated point map in CARTO, we need this data in a different format. And to basically every row should represent a date rather than a province, okay? So I've already reformatted this data, so we don't have to spend much time reformat this. So again, page 7 of the PDF. Again, if you click on this Google Drive link, you can see how I reformatted the data. There you go. So it's the same data as the original one, just in a different way. It's just in a different format, okay? Just in a different structure. So I have the province name, I have the date, and then I have the count of the COVID-19 cases. So again, if you look, the first 31 rows in the data represents all from February 19. Then from row 33 downward, again, the name of the provinces repeat itself, but the date changes. So we had 31 provinces. So we have 31 blocks of 31 rows, another block of 31 rows for February 20, and again, another block of 31 provinces for February 21st. So this is how I changed the format of the data. But it's the same, and the count refers to the same cumulative number of COVID-19 cases, okay? Any question about this reformatting? All good? Okay, so again, remember, if you want to animate a map, animate a point map, the format should not be like this, the original CSV. Rather, it should be like this, where the timeline should be, so where each row should represent your one-time step, whether if you want to show day-to-day change of something, or if you want to show hour-by-hour change of something, it should be on in a row basis. So anyways, let's download this data. Okay, I download this data. And now if I go back to my dashboard, where is my CARTO dashboard? If I go to my dashboard, I'm going to add this data now as a new data set. So I go to upload. And I'm going to upload this data set. It's the same COVID-19 cases data, but in a different format. Let's give it some time to upload.
Mead, while you're waiting for it to upload, may I just ask a quick question?
Yes.
I'm just wondering why each time we make a change in our map analysis, do we have to export and import as a new layer?
We don't need to do that every time. The reason I did that, okay, if I go back to the PDF, I think I mentioned it somewhere, because when you apply an analysis to the data, I think I talk about it somewhere. Yes. So here in the PDF, I says something that there is a little issue here. CARTO does not allow you to add featured style if your map is created by a customized SQL code. So if we change the SQL code, if you write a customized SQL code as we did when we wanted to join two data sets, sometimes CARTO doesn't allow us to change the color of the maps based on the style that is available, the feature that is available in CARTO, because the SQL is customized. So we download that and then we export it again. Then we would be able to use that default feature of styling and using different colors as available in CARTO. I think that's a limitation of CARTO, not necessarily something wrong. They just don't provide that capability. So anyway, so this data is now uploaded in that new format. So we have the name of the province, we have the date, and we have the counts as we talked before. So let me go back to the PDF. So now that we have this, let's join this table to which table? To which other data set? Not the original province data, but the province by points. When we converted the provinces into points, now if we join that data set and this newly formatted COVID-19 case counts, then we would be able to create the final data set that we can animate. Okay, so if I maybe go back to let me see, which one was it? So if I go to my maps, yes, this one, it's untitled. So this one, again, if you remember, if I click on it, so this was the point map that we created. If I go to the data, we talked about it, that I have the coordinate of the point, I have the name of the province, but I don't have any information about the COVID-19 cases. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna so I'm gonna go to the SQL panel here. Actually, not here. Where is my SQL panel here? Someone's asking a question. Oh no, admits. Okay. Let's go back to the PDF. So we need to join these two data set as we talked about. So we open the format. Okay, I got it. So we go to this data that we created, right? Sorry about the confusion here. So let's just start with this new COVID-19 case reformatted data that we imported. Okay, so let's just start with that. We see this data set. We're going to add the geometries to this data instead of the other way around. You could do also the other way around. There's no reason one is there are many correct ways of doing this joining, but just to stick to what I had in the PDF file so it doesn't confuse everyone and myself. So we start with this new COVID-19 data that we imported. We go to the SQL panel and we're going to join this with the centroid data set that we created. So again, I've already put together some SQL commands here for you. I'm going to talk about this in a second. So let's go over this SQL query. So again, we have select. We're going to select some columns, not all the columns, because we don't need all the columns that are available in the data. So we need CartoDB ID. We need the province name. We need the date. So you see the date is important because we're going to animate by the date. And we also need the count. That's the number of COVID-19 cases, because we need the size of the points later to represent the number of cases that are identified. And from the other data set, I think I need to change the name of the data here. From the other data set that I had, the centroids, I need the geometry only, right? Because I'm going to add the geometry, the coordinate of the centroids to this data set. I think I need to change the name of the table here. Let me go and see which. So this one was Iran _ province 2. So this is the name of the table that I had. So I'm going to change this into. So this is the Iran _ provinces _2 is the name of my table that includes the coordinates of the points, okay, instead of the polygons. So I take the geometry and the geometry web Mercator columns. Again, remember I told you this geometry web Mercator is hidden, but anytime you work with geometry information, you must include that in your SQL commands. So I take these columns from these two data sets, and this time I'm going to do a joint differently. I mean, I guess now I have to go into more details. That there are many different ways of joining two different tables. One is called left join. One is called right join. I'm going to skip that details. Again, I leave that to you to watch that SQL YouTube if you want to learn more about SQL. But this is a specific join command. Nothing too fancy. It's just a simple join. But there is some little differences between right join and left join, which I leave out if you don't mind. You can watch that YouTube video later to learn that. But anyways, I'm going to join these two data sets. Okay. Let me also make sure the name of the columns are correct. So I have Iran _ COVID _ column, left join with Iran _ provinces _2. And how do on what basis am I going to join? I'm going to join. What is the condition for the join? I'm going to join the name of the province. So if the name of the province matches, join these two tables. So make sure the name of the column, the name of the tables are correct here. So provinces _2. So I think this should be all right. So let me see if I apply this. So again, look at the original data. That's the original data. That's the SQL code just put together to join this with the COVID-19 case data. And let's see if I press apply, I don't get any error. Yes, I did not get any error. Excellent. So now what do I see in this data? I see the name of the province. I see the date. I see the count of the cases, and I have the coordinates of the points. Excellent. That's exactly what I needed to have to visualize, to animate the map. So I have the coordinates of the points and the counts of the COVID-19 cases. Excellent. So now let's create a map. If I press on create a map, there you go. So I have this. I have created this map. So if I go to the layer that I created, now that's where the animation comes in. So if I in the style tab, again, if you remember from last workshop, in the style tab, we had a couple of options. If I go into aggregation, I can visualize as point, I can visualize by squares. I don't need that. But there is one option towards the end, which is animated. So in the style tab, there is this animated option. Okay. So if I click this animated option, I would be able to see something like this, but this is not correct. We have to change this because this is now actually reading every line instead of reading the date. So I choose this animated, I go to the style, I keep the points, point size, let's remain 7, that's okay. And this column here, it says column. Which column should we make the animation based on? Not CartoDB ID, but the date, because I'm going to animate by the date. So if I select date, there you go. So that's what it creates origin. I mean, this is not exactly final yet, but now what Carto does, it reads the count of the COVID-19 cases by province from day to day, from February 19, February 20, and all the way to March 1st, okay? But again, this is not exactly what the map we want to see. This is not exactly what I was thinking to create. So that's another advanced level thing that comes in. On the left bottom corner, you can see there is an option to choose between values and Carto CSS. I think I talked about this. I just touched on before. I touched on this in the previous workshop. So if I click on this Carto CSS, I should be able to write a customized code here instead of playing with this default values that I have here. Again, these default values are okay if it wasn't a complicated map, but when the map becomes a little bit complicated, it's easier to actually write a piece of code here. And again, what is this piece of code? This is different than SQL. It's called CSS. Again, what is CSS? It's an HTML type code. It's basically to specify the color, the size, of some points or polygons in HTML format. So I think I've already put together a CSS code. Again, you don't have to be expert in CSS coding. I'm not an expert in HTML coding. What I only do is I try to learn where to change in the default code. So let's have a look at, let's take this piece of CSS code that I put together and use this instead of the default code, and then I talk about some of the sections in this. So let's have a look at this. So, and again, just before I continue, again, if you don't feel comfortable with all this CSS and HTML, and this is your first time seeing something like this, don't worry about it. I also included a YouTube link here for you to make you more familiar with what is CSS, okay? As I said, this is a little bit of advanced, but again, I hope everyone here is interested to learn a little bit more advanced stuff. But anyways, here is a YouTube link for you to watch later to learn about CSS coding. But let's go over this CSS code that I put together and see what it includes. What am I changing here to be able to create the final map that I'm interested in? So torque is the name of this animated map. That's the name that Carto creates for itself. So don't worry about that too much. But how many frames do I have? I need to specify how many frames in my animated map do I want to have. This goes back to what are you trying to animate over? What I'm doing here is I'm animating over dates, and I only had 12 days in my data, right? So I put 12 frames here because I only have 12 days. If I had 100 days or 100 hours that I wanted to animate over, I would choose a different number here, okay? But this 12 refers to the 12 days that I had in my data. Duration of the animation is 3. That's 3 seconds. It's a fast animation. If you had longer data, like if you had 100 days of data, you don't have to do it that quick. You could increase the duration of the animation. The time attribute is the name of the column that we are working with. That's the date. The aggregation function should be sum, because we're going to increase the size of the points as the number of cases of COVID-19 goes, it like accumulatively, right? You see how the map looks like now? All the points have the same size. That's not what I want to show. I want to show the size of the points changes as the number of cases increases. So I change this to sum count. If I go back to the original one, let me show you the original one. I can't see the original one, but I don't think if it was sum, it was just count probably. But anyways, oh, it was made. It might be sum. This is the cumulative part. This is probably what I'm talking about. So the aggregation style is cumulative, because I'm going to add the number of cases together, so the size of the points change accumulatively. But anyways, here I'm going to change the size of the point, the size of the points, the size of the points based on the number of cases. So this is basically something like a legend here. So I say if the value, so let's start with the bottom of it. So if the number of cases in a province is smaller than 5, keep the width of the circle at 2. If the cases is between 5 and 10, make the size of the points 5, and I'm increasing the size. So that marker width basically represents the size of the dots, okay, the size of those circles. So again, as I said, look at this map that is showing now. All the size of the circles are the same. I don't want to do that. I want to change this. That's what I'm doing this. So now the size of the circle changes based on the number of cases that is accumulated in each province over time. Okay, and I'm also going to play with the colors. I don't have to do this, but it's nice to play also with the colors. I'm going to use the same conditions of the name, the value, the counts of the cases. You see, smaller than 5, between 10 and 5, between 10 and 30, and between 30 and 50. And I'm also going to change the color. So if it is higher than 50, choose a very red. If it is lower than 5, choose a light color, choose a light yellow. So again, you can play with this as well. You don't have to stick to the colors that I chose. And the rest represents some default things like, what do you want? Do you want the points to be transparent? How thick do you want the boundary of the circles be, etc., etc. You don't have to worry about these. But these two were the most important part that I wanted to show you. And also this cumulative aggregation that I talked about at the bottom, at the top. So let me now press apply and let's see what happens. There you go. Now look, do you see my map, how it changed from that circles having the same size and color? Now I managed to create circles that over time, the size of the circle changes and the color of the circle also changes based on the number of cases that are accumulated in each province over time for the COVID-19, identified COVID-19 cases. So I'm gonna go back to the value. So that's it. There you go. We've managed to create our first animated point map from the data that we had. Let me see what else I have in my PDF file. Yes, I also need to add a legend, right? Because again, this map doesn't have any legend. It doesn't tell me any information about what each size represents, what each color represents, right? So let's go to the legend. I can create a custom legend, but again, if you want to do a little bit more advanced, I mean, if I do a custom legend, look what happens. Here it only says, it shows the name of the table on the top left, and it only shows me the points, which doesn't make any sense. So this is not a good legend here. It doesn't tell you anything. So what I would like to do here is now to add a more complete legend, and to be able to do that, because I mean, I can also add this size can't be opened here. So I can do a little bit more advanced. As I said, I can go to the HTML form, HTML control. So on the left bottom, you can see I can switch between values and HTML, right? If I click on this HTML, I see the HTML code behind the legend. And again, you don't have to be an expert in HTML coding. I'm not. But I managed to put this piece of HTML code to create a nice legend here. I'm going to talk about this after I paste it here. So I'm going to paste this here. And if I press apply, let's see what happens. There you go. So look, I managed to add at least the color. I could also add a legend on the size of the circles, but let's stick to the, let's not make it too complicated, and let's stick to a legend that shows the information about the colors and what each color represents instead in terms of the number of cases. So if I show you this, you can see, where do I choose the color? So you look, all these color codes that I've added here. I think I could also do this here, but I didn't try that. But anyways, let's talk about this. So I mean, it's a lot of information here. For those of you who it's your first time seeing an HTML code, you may freak out a little bit, but please don't. This is a default code that you can use every time you want to create a legend. You just need to change bits and pieces there. So for example, this 50. So look, this is where I change I add and change the color of the first dot here, where I says if it is greater than 50 in the quotation, choose this color. Where's the color that I selected? Choose this red color, show this red color. So do you see this color code? This is the HTML color code. This is this one that starts with a hashtag FC4, etc., etc. This represents the HTML color code. But anyways, this is probably too advanced for now. But it's probably less important. But you could go with whatever default control CARTO allows you to play with to create a legend. But if you want to do more advanced legend, like just what I did, you could also play with this HTML code. But again, it requires some HTML knowledge, I understand. But there are tons of YouTube videos that tells you how to edit HTML codes, okay? But again, don't worry about this for now. And I also added some information towards the end of the code to describe the map, that this animated map shows the earliest stages of the COVID-19 spread in Iran, etc., etc. So I have the map, excellent. Now, if I go back, I can now publish my map. So I press publish, and it's a public map. Let me make it. It's okay. Make it. Let's publish it. I published it, and done. So I didn't get the link. There you go. So it's a link. I copy the link, and now if I paste it here, let's see how the map looks like at the end. There you go. We managed to create an animated map. It has to be point map showing the spread of COVID-19 in Iran. So feel free to ask me questions now. If you have any question, please go ahead. Do you have any question, everyone? I think it was a little bit too advanced, maybe, and I was a little bit. Can we use this to? To do what? Yes, if you have point data. So look, animation, creating an animated map in CARTO only works based on point data. So if you have some point data like GPS data or links represented in a network as points, yes, you could use this to visualize congestion propagation, but you must have point data. So if you don't have point data, if you have link data, for example, you can convert the links, the lines to points, or you can convert the polygons to points, just like what we did in this example, and then you would be able to create an animated map like this. And remember, in the data that you're going to work with, every row should represent a time. I mean, if you watch this recorded workshop again, watch that part that I talked about, the reformatting of the data, so it is consistent with what CARTO needs in terms of animating point data based on time, over time. So that was about the Iran data. So I have in the PDF file, I have a self-paced exercise for you guys. So this is the data from New South Wales. This is all the COVID-19 cases in New South Wales. So I leave that to you to work on after the workshop. So it's a self-paced on your own pace. Go ahead and explore this, play with this. I've already put you some links to download the data. I've also, you see here, it says, I say making your life easier. I've created a joint data set for you to continue working on. I've also done some kind of a joint data set for if you had a challenge, you can work with this joint data at the end. But please work on the same exercise that we went over on your own pace. I know it might have been a little bit too quick for some of you, and please on your own time work on this self-paced exercise at the end, which is with some data from New South Wales. Any other question? I'm gonna post this recorded workshop again on YouTube and send you the link. So if you want to watch it later, if you couldn't follow my instructions, you could do it again at your own pace. You're welcome, May. If you had any other question, feel free to email me. You have my email address. Feel free to email me your questions and I'd be happy to help. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Stay in touch.